The vast Galactic Council was a place of power and fear. Alien species from across the universe gathered in this grand chamber, discussing the fate of entire star systems, plotting strategies, and issuing commands. Today was no different. The room was heavy with tension, filled with voices of representatives from the most powerful species in the galaxy. But today, something different was about to happen, something that no one could have predicted. At the center of the room stood General Varnak, one of the most feared beings in the galaxy. He was a towering alien, with scales that shimmered like steel and eyes that burned with the intensity of 1,000 suns. His reputation was unmatched, and his command was absolute. He had led countless conquests across the galaxy, crushing civilizations under his might. And now, as he stood before the council, his voice commanded silence. "Council," General Varnak began, his voice booming across the room. "The time has come to destroy the human race. They are weak, primitive, and unworthy of existence in our galaxy." A murmur ran through the room. The council members, some skeptical, some eager, listened intently. The humans had been an anomaly in the galaxy. For centuries, they had remained unnoticed, their technology primitive, and their power insignificant. But recently, reports had come in that humanity was advancing faster than anyone had expected. Some council members feared that the humans could one day challenge their dominance. Others, like Varnak, believed it was time to act before the humans grew too powerful. "Prepare the beast," Varnak continued, his voice cold and calculating. "We will strike before they even realize we are coming. Our forces will overwhelm them, and their world will burn." The beast. The very name struck terror in the hearts of those who had heard of it. It was a weapon unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. A massive warship, capable of destroying entire planets with a single shot. It had been built for one purpose: to ensure the destruction of any civilization that dared to challenge the Council's rule. And now it would be unleashed upon humanity. The council members looked around at each other, some nodding in agreement, others still uncertain. But none of them dared to challenge General Varnak. He was the strongest, the most feared. His word was law. But there was one member who wasn't so sure. Ambassador Silara of the Zerkian race, a species known for their wisdom and patience, raised her hand slowly. Her voice was calm but firm. "General Varnak," she said, "I understand your concerns, but are we certain that humanity is truly as weak as you believe? They have managed to survive in this galaxy for centuries, despite the odds. Perhaps we should consider a different approach." The room fell silent. Ambassador Silara's words hung in the air, her wisdom challenging Varnak's decision. The general's eyes narrowed, his cold stare fixed on her. He had no time for doubts or hesitation. The humans were a threat, and he was prepared to destroy them, no matter what. "No," Varnak said sharply. "There is no room for second thoughts. The humans are nothing but ants beneath our boots. We will crush them with the might of the beast." And with that, the decision was made. The council reluctantly gave their approval, and the orders were sent out to prepare the beast. The massive warship would soon be on its way to Earth, and nothing could stop it. Meanwhile, light years away, on the quiet and seemingly insignificant planet known as Earth, a different kind of meeting was taking place. Inside a high-tech command center, Commander Sarah, leader of Earth's defense forces, stood before a group of military officers. They had been monitoring the same transmission from the Galactic Council, and they knew something was coming. The humans had always been seen as weak by the galactic powers. They had no superhuman abilities, no advanced technology like the alien races. But what humanity had was something more powerful: determination, resourcefulness, and the will to survive. Commander Sarah was well aware of the beast. She had read the reports, heard the stories of its terrifying power. But she wasn't afraid. She had been trained for this moment her entire life. Humanity had faced down impossible odds before, and they had always found a way to prevail. As the officers around her discussed their strategies, Sarah's mind was already working, thinking of ways to turn the tide. She knew that Earth's forces were small compared to the alien fleet, but there was one thing they had that no one else did. "I don't care how big their ships are," Sarah said, her voice steady and filled with conviction. "We're not going down without a fight. We'll show them that humanity is far stronger than they think." The officers exchanged glances, wondering what she was planning. But Sarah had a secret so strange, so unexpected, that no one would believe it if she told them. In the corner of the command center, behind a heavy steel door, was Earth's most unusual weapon. The beast, in all its glory, was not what the aliens thought. It was not a monstrous creature, not a terrifying war machine. It was, in fact, something much more surprising. A harmless-looking creature, a puppy. The humans had been working in secret, using every resource they had to develop this weapon. And while it looked like a simple, cute puppy, in reality, it was the most dangerous force humanity had ever created. With a smile, Sarah turned to her team. "Let's show them just how powerful we can be," she said. "It's just a cute puppy after all." And so, as the alien fleet prepared to strike, humanity's true power was about to be revealed. The stage was set for the greatest battle the galaxy had ever seen, and no one, especially not the aliens, was prepared for what was coming. This beginning sets the stage for the suspenseful and exciting conflict that will unfold in the next parts, building curiosity and keeping the audience on the edge of their seats. The twist of the cute puppy weapon will keep them intrigued and eager to see how it all plays out. The tension in the command center was palpable. Outside, the stars gleamed in the dark abyss of space, unaware of the incredible drama that was about to unfold. On Earth, people were going about their daily lives, oblivious to the looming threat that hung over them like a sword ready to fall. But inside the heart of Earth's most secure military base, a storm was brewing. Commander Sarah stood before a large holographic display, her hand resting on the controls. She glanced over at the officers around her, each one focused on their tasks, analyzing data, running simulations, and preparing strategies. Despite their best efforts, the humans knew that the odds were not in their favor. The alien fleet, led by the terrifying beast, was coming. The superweapon that had been designed to obliterate anything in its path was already on its way to Earth. "We don't have much time," Sarah said, her voice calm but carrying an unmistakable intensity. "The alien fleet is preparing to jump into our system within the hour. We'll be facing the beast, and its sheer power could wipe us off the map." A hush fell over the room. The officers exchanged uneasy glances, knowing full well what that meant. The beast was no ordinary weapon. It was a massive, heavily armed warship capable of decimating entire planets. The reports that had been intercepted from the Galactic Council made it clear that Earth would be nothing more than a speck of dust under the beast's mighty guns. But Sarah wasn't worried. She knew the secret weapon that had been hidden away for years, the weapon that the aliens would never expect. With a flick of her wrist, the holographic display shifted, showing a small, unassuming facility deep within the command center. The lights flickered slightly, and a door opened. Inside, a small, furry creature emerged. The beast, the most unlikely of weapons. It was a puppy, no bigger than a typical household dog, with soft brown fur and a pair of wide, innocent eyes. It wagged its tail as it trotted over to Sarah, its tiny feet clicking against the cold floor. To anyone who didn't know the truth, it would appear to be just another adorable animal. But Sarah knew better. This was no ordinary puppy. The technology that had been infused into this seemingly harmless creature was nothing short of revolutionary. It had been designed to be a living weapon, its molecular structure altered to be able to generate immense amounts of energy. The puppy's body housed an array of advanced weaponry, including miniature but powerful energy disruptors that could short-circuit anything in its path. The most powerful feature, however, was its ability to adapt and learn. It could grow stronger with every encounter, its power increasing exponentially as it faced new threats. Sarah had often marveled at how something so small, so cute, could carry such an unimaginable power. but it was the perfect counter to the alien threat. The beast would be humanity's salvation. "We're ready," she said, her voice steady as she knelt down to pet the puppy. It yipped happily, looking up at her with trustful eyes. She couldn't help but smile, but there was no time to waste. The fleet was coming, and humanity's fate rested in her hands. Outside, in the cold vastness of space, the alien fleet was closing in. General Varnak stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Eviscerator, watching as the final preparations were made. The beast was almost in range, and he was eager to unleash the devastation. His alien forces had been deployed, and their ships were primed for the final attack. This was going to be the moment he'd been waiting for, the moment when the galaxy would fall before him, with Earth at its center. "Ready the weapons," Varnak commanded, his voice as cold as steel. "Prepare to wipe them out. The humans are about to feel the full might of the beast." But as the command was issued, something strange happened. On the view screen, a small, unremarkable blip appeared, moving toward them. At first, it looked like a glitch, just a tiny anomaly among the thousands of stars. But as it grew larger, Varnak's eyes narrowed in confusion. "What is that?" he demanded. His officers quickly checked their readings. "Sir, it's coming from the human system. It's moving too fast to be one of their normal ships, but it doesn't appear to be any military vessel." Varnak leaned forward, his fists clenching. "Send a fleet to intercept. I want that ship captured. No one challenges me." As the alien fleet prepared to launch, Sarah stood tall, her heart pounding. This was it, the moment they had trained for. The beast, the weapon disguised as an innocent puppy, was about to face the might of the alien fleet. It was humanity's last stand, and they had no intention of backing down. She turned to her team. "Activate the puppy," she ordered. The officers around her hesitated for just a moment, unsure of what to expect. But Sarah had no doubt. The weapon would do its job. It had to. It was their only chance. And then, the room was filled with a strange, low hum, a sound that seemed to grow louder by the second. The beast was awakening. The stage was set for the ultimate confrontation. On one side, the terrifying alien fleet, led by the invincible General Varnak and his warship, the Eviscerator. On the other side, a single human warship carrying a weapon unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen, a harmless puppy that would change the course of history. Would it be enough to overcome the seemingly insurmountable power of the alien forces? Would humanity's secret weapon, the beast, be the key to turning the tide of this cosmic battle? The fate of the galaxy rested on the shoulders of the unlikeliest hero, a tiny puppy. The countdown had begun. The tension in space was palpable. As the beast powered up aboard Earth's warship, the entire human fleet waited in silence, their eyes fixed on the holographic display. The Eviscerator, the flagship of the alien fleet, was approaching with its full might, its enormous weaponry visible even from the farthest reaches of the system. It was a beast of a ship, a symbol of the Council's power and terror. Its massive weapons could obliterate planets in mere moments, and no force in the galaxy had dared challenge its might. But today, things were different. Sarah paced slowly in front of the crew, her eyes occasionally flicking toward the small, innocent-looking puppy resting in its containment field. Its tail wagged lazily, unaware of the storm it was about to face. But Sarah knew better. She had faith in the technology that pulsed through the puppy's veins. It had been designed to withstand more than any ordinary creature could bear. It was the last line of defense, and it was humanity's best hope for survival. "Deploy the puppy," Sarah said firmly, her voice cutting through the tension. There was a moment of hesitation among her crew, but then they followed her orders. A small compartment opened, and the beast, the puppy, was unleashed. It padded out into the center of the warship, its tiny form looking almost out of place compared to the vast technology and powerful engines surrounding it. The puppy wagged its tail happily, as if unaware of the stakes of the battle at hand. But those who understood the beast's true power knew it was anything but innocent. Meanwhile, on the bridge of the Eviscerator, General Varnak watched with a growing sense of irritation as his fleet approached the human system. His eyes narrowed as he observed the small human warship, which seemed almost insignificant compared to the colossal alien ships nearby. It was as if the humans were mocking him, refusing to show any fear. He expected them to run, to surrender to the inevitable. But instead, they were preparing for something unknown. "Sir, we are within range of their fleet," an officer reported, uncertainty in their voice. "We've detected a small anomaly aboard their flagship. It appears to be a biological entity." Varnak's eyes narrowed further. "What do you mean by biological entity?" The officer swallowed. "It's a creature, sir. It looks small. A puppy." Varnak sneered. "A puppy?" He laughed, the sound cold and mocking. "Foolish humans. They think a pet can stop us. Prepare the weapons. Full barrage. We'll wipe them out in minutes." As he gave the order, the alien fleet's weapons began to power up. Huge energy cannons glowed a menacing red, ready to fire. The moment they unleashed their firepower, Earth's fragile defense would be shattered. On Earth's warship, however, things were moving in a different direction. The puppy, oblivious to the impending doom, trotted toward the central control panel of the ship. Sarah watched, her eyes full of determination. The creature's tiny form was now a focal point of their last chance to survive. "Activate its power reserves," she ordered again, her voice unwavering. The officers hesitated for a moment but quickly obeyed. They had no choice. The puppy's heart began to glow, its small body radiating energy. The energy readings spiked as the puppy's internal systems hummed to life, drawing on the latent power that had been engineered into its cells. The massive alien fleet loomed in front of them, but just as the first shot was about to be fired, something strange happened. The glowing energy around the puppy shifted. The intensity of its power surged. A ripple of energy expanded outward from the warship, the ship's shield systems flickering as they absorbed the intensity. And then it began to happen. The alien ships began to shake. A violent, powerful force hit them like a tidal wave, an invisible shockwave that rippled through their hulls. The crew of the Eviscerator scrambled, confusion spreading quickly across the bridge. "What is happening?" Varnak yelled. The puppy's tiny form had triggered an unprecedented chain reaction. The energy disruptors within it began to engage, targeting the weak spots of the alien fleet. But it wasn't just a simple attack. The puppy's abilities had amplified exponentially. The alien ship's weapon systems began to malfunction, their power grids flickering, and their engines faltering. "What is this power?" Varnak shouted. He had never seen anything like this before. The human warship, once a simple target for the mighty alien fleet, was now a thorn in their side. The alien warships, once so confident in their superiority, were beginning to suffer. The beast, the puppy, had somehow turned the tables. "Maintain fire," Varnak ordered, but his voice wavered with uncertainty. The battle was no longer as easy as he had imagined. The puppy, with its unassuming exterior, had already begun to shift the balance of power. The Eviscerator, along with its accompanying fleet, had begun to falter. As the puppy's energy began to swell and its power continued to grow, it became clear that Earth wasn't going to just be a footnote in the galaxy anymore. As the battle raged on, Sarah stood tall, watching the holographic readouts. She knew what this meant. The humans had been underestimated by both the Council and the alien general himself. The galaxy had expected Earth to fall, but now it seemed as though the tables had turned. And in the center of it all was the puppy, who had just become humanity's deadliest weapon. The Eviscerator had become more than just a target. It had become the symbol of an empire on the verge of collapse. And Earth, once considered weak and insignificant, now held the power to change the course of the galaxy. The first battle had been won. But the war was far from over. As the alien fleet reeled from the unexpected attack, Sarah knew that the true test was just beginning. The battle raged on, but something had shifted. The alien fleet, once an unstoppable force, was now struggling to maintain control. The Eviscerator, the flagship of the alien army, was still in the lead, but the shockwave of the puppy's unexpected power had left its mark. The alien ships were flickering and sputtering, their systems malfunctioning in ways no one could have predicted. The fear that had once been a constant companion to the galaxy's inhabitants now hung in the air like a fading memory. Inside the human warship, Sarah watched as the puppy's power continued to surge. It wasn't just a symbol of humanity's last hope anymore. It was their greatest weapon, and it was turning the tide of the battle. "Is it ready?" Sarah asked, her voice calm but filled with intensity. "We're almost there," came the reply from the tech officer at the control panel. "The energy reserves are reaching maximum capacity. We can activate the full power surge, but we have to time it right. If we push it too far, it could overload the ship." Sarah's mind raced. The idea of risking the ship's integrity was a terrifying thought, but she had no choice. The alien fleet had underestimated humanity's resolve, and now they would pay the price. "Do it," Sarah said firmly. "We have one shot at this. Make it count." The tech officer nodded and pressed the final button. Almost immediately, the warship began to hum with power, the puppy at its heart glowing brighter than ever before. The energy readings were off the charts, surging through the ship's core and into the surrounding weapon systems. At the same moment, the alien fleet unleashed another barrage of firepower. The shots came in waves, a storm of destruction aimed directly at the human flagship. Sarah braced herself, expecting the worst. But the worst never came. As the shots neared the human warship, the energy field surrounding the ship flared to life, absorbing the incoming blasts like a sponge. The alien weapons were powerful, but they were nothing compared to the sheer intensity of the puppy's energy. The barrage was redirected, harmlessly dissipating into space. The alien fleet paused in disbelief. Their weapons had failed. The human ship was still standing, and now it had the power to turn their own attacks against them. It was a sight that no one in the galaxy had expected to see. On the bridge of the Eviscerator, General Varnak clenched his fists in fury. His flagship had just witnessed the most humbling defeat it had ever experienced. The fleet had fired at full strength, and yet they had failed to even scratch the surface of the human warship's defenses. "Report," Varnak barked. "We've lost primary weapon systems," an officer replied, his voice trembling. "The human ship, it's absorbing our fire. We're not sure how, but it's redirecting our own attacks back at us." The general's eyes widened in shock. How could this be? How could a mere human ship, and worse, a puppy, possess such power? His mind struggled to make sense of it all. He had commanded the galaxy for decades. He had crushed entire civilizations with a single command. Yet here he was, facing an enemy that shouldn't exist, an enemy that had just proven it could fight back. He turned to his crew, his mind working furiously. There had to be something they could do. They had to adapt. They had to win. "Prepare for all-out assault," he ordered. "This isn't over yet. We will crush them." But the question lingered in his mind. Could they? Could the Council's might withstand the unexpected might of this human warship and its unassuming weapon? Back aboard the human ship, Sarah looked at the view screen, her expression hardening. The battle wasn't won yet. The aliens were regrouping, readying their next attack. But Sarah knew one thing for sure. This was no longer a battle for survival. This was a battle for supremacy, and Earth wasn't about to back down. The puppy's power surged once more, ready for the next clash. Humanity had found its strength, and now it would wield it with the force of 1,000 suns. "Ready the next wave," Sarah ordered. "It's time to take the fight to them." The alien fleet had never seen anything like it before, and neither had the galaxy. As the human warship surged forward, powered by the energy of the beast, the first true battle of the galactic war had just begun. The Council's reign was starting to unravel, and no one, Not even General Varnack could predict how it would end. But one thing was certain: the galaxy would never be the same. The human warship surged forward, its engines thrumming with a new, unstoppable power. Sarah stood at the helm, watching as the alien fleet's defenses weakened with every passing second. The galaxy, once dominated by the Council's ruthless grip, was on the brink of a massive shift. The Eviscerator had been the first to see the full scope of the power that had emerged, and now it was time to make the Council realize the cost of underestimating humanity. The alien ships were falling back, their formation fracturing as they struggled to regroup. In the past, they would have crushed any foe without hesitation. But now their enemy, humanity, was proving to be something far different, far stronger, and far more dangerous. Sarah's mind raced. She had been trained for moments like this, but no one could have predicted the scale of this battle. The puppy's energy was like nothing they had ever seen, a force of nature that only seemed to grow stronger with each passing moment. The human fleet had been underestimated, but no longer. They were about to show the galaxy just how much power they could command. "Prepare for full-scale offensive," Sarah called out. "Target their command ships first. We'll break their leadership, and then the rest will fall apart." The officers nodded, their faces grim but determined. The time for defense had passed. The time for humanity to take the fight to the heart of the galaxy had arrived. With a single command, the Eviscerator unleashed a devastating wave of energy. The blast shot through space, bright as a supernova, and hit the nearest alien vessel with unrelenting force. The alien ship exploded into a brilliant flash of light, sending shockwaves through the surrounding ships. The fleet was in chaos. "Direct hit," the weapons officer shouted, his voice filled with awe. "We've breached their defenses," another officer confirmed, eyes wide. The shields didn't stand a chance. Sarah allowed herself a small, tight smile. The battle had begun in earnest, and the Eviscerator was showing no mercy. The alien fleet had been knocked off balance, and now was the time to strike while they were vulnerable. The energy from the puppy, still radiating from the warship's core, rippled outward, expanding in waves. The alien ships were disoriented, their systems struggling to adapt. One by one, the warships faltered, their weapons falling silent as the energy surged across the battlefield. Meanwhile, on the Eviscerator, the crew was operating at full capacity. Officers barked orders as their fingers danced across consoles, keeping the ship's systems primed for another round of destruction. The human fleet had been far smaller than the alien armada, but now it had the advantage. With the puppy's power at its heart, they were unstoppable. The alien General Varnack watched the destruction unfold on the viewscreen. His hand tightened into a fist, his knuckles turning white. This wasn't the way the galaxy was supposed to work. The humans were not supposed to have this kind of power. His fleet, the pride of the entire galaxy, was being torn apart by a single ship and a ridiculous creature they called a puppy. "Report," he barked, his voice filled with fury. The officer at the communications console stammered, "General, our fleet, it's falling apart. We've lost 3 ships already, and their energy weapons are devastating our lines. We can't retaliate fast enough." Varnack's mind raced. He had been taught to fear the unknown, to destroy anything that threatened the order of the galaxy. But this was something he could not control. The humans had turned the tide of battle with a single ship and a puppy. It was unthinkable. "Send word to the Council," Varnack ordered through gritted teeth. "We need reinforcements. Now." Back aboard the Eviscerator, Sarah's resolve never wavered. She stared out at the alien fleet, their once proud formation now a jumbled mess of confusion. The time had come for humanity to claim its place in the galaxy. "Lock onto their command ships," Sarah said, her voice steady and unwavering. "Full power to the main guns. This ends now." The officers around her worked swiftly, aligning their weapons to strike at the heart of the alien fleet. The Eviscerator was ready for its next move. The blast that followed was powerful enough to send a shockwave through the entire battlefield, vaporizing the largest alien ship in a single strike. The remaining ships began to panic. The tides of war had turned, and the Council's once iron grip on the galaxy was slipping away. No one could have predicted this outcome, not even the aliens themselves. Varnak's face contorted in rage as he realized that his fleet was now facing an enemy they couldn't defeat. The human warship, fueled by the unimaginable power of the puppy, was relentless. It wasn't just a battle for control anymore. It was a battle for the future of the galaxy. And the humans were winning. As the alien fleet scrambled to regroup, Sarah looked out at the stars, knowing the tide of the war was shifting in humanity's favor. There was no turning back now. Humanity had proven its strength, and it would not be forgotten. The galaxy was changing, and humanity was leading the charge. The Eviscerator was ready for the next phase, and the alien fleet had no idea what was coming next. The battle raged on, and the Eviscerator cut through the alien fleet with a ferocity that left the galaxy's most powerful general stunned. The mighty armada that had once stood unchallenged now seemed like a collection of disorganized and panicked ships, struggling to hold their ground against a single human warship. The alien fleet was reeling, their attempts at counterattack utterly ineffective. Sarah stood at the command center, watching as the Eviscerator continued its assault. The once unstoppable alien forces were crumbling under the weight of the ship's devastating firepower. The puppy's energy surged through every system, and with each strike, the humans took another step toward victory. "Direct hit to their lead vessel," shouted one of the officers, his voice filled with awe. "Another one down," another officer confirmed, eyes wide in disbelief. "We've broken their shields. Their weapons are useless against us now." Sarah could feel the tension in the room melt away as the reports of success kept flooding in. She allowed herself a brief moment of relief, but she knew the battle wasn't over. The alien generals were not the type to surrender easily. They would fight to the last ship, to the last soldier. But humanity was ready. The Eviscerator was unstoppable, and it wasn't just one ship. They had the whole human fleet backing them up now. "Move in, strike their command center," Sarah ordered. "We'll end this fight once and for all." As the Eviscerator surged forward, blasting its way through enemy lines, the alien commanders scrambled to form a defense. But it was too late. Their tactics, honed for centuries of galactic dominance, had been shattered by the humans' unexpected power. The arrival of the puppy, the unexpected key to their overwhelming strength, had tipped the scales. Now it was no longer about strategy. It was about raw, unstoppable force. General Varnak stood at the helm of his flagship, a furious fire burning in his eyes. His entire fleet was in disarray, and the human warship had shown no signs of slowing down. They were decimating his forces, and he could do nothing to stop it. "This cannot be happening," Varnak muttered under his breath. "This was not supposed to be possible." "General, their warship is on course for our command ship," his second-in-command reported, a note of panic creeping into his voice. "We're out of options. We need reinforcements, or we'll be destroyed." Varnak slammed his fist into the control panel, his mind racing. The Council, the most powerful organization in the galaxy, had underestimated humanity. They had treated them like nothing more than ants to be crushed beneath their boots. Now the humans were proving they were anything but weak. "Send a message to the Council," Varnak growled. "Tell them we need backup. If we fall here, the entire galaxy could fall." Back on the Eviscerator, Sarah watched the alien fleet's command ship on the view screen. It was the heart of their entire operation, and if it fell, their entire force would collapse. The mission was simple: destroy the command ship, and the rest would fall apart. "Fire at will," Sarah ordered, her voice steely and full of resolve. The Eviscerator opened fire, and the blast that followed was enough to shake the battlefield. The alien command ship shuddered as the massive energy blast hit it directly. For a moment, the ship appeared to hold strong, but it was only a brief illusion. Within seconds, the command ship's shields collapsed, and the blast tore into its core. The ship erupted in a blinding explosion, sending debris scattering across the battlefield. The alien fleet gasped in shock. The loss of their command ship was a fatal blow to their forces. Without a central leadership, the remaining ships were now easy targets for the human fleet. "Command ship destroyed," one of Sarah's officers called out. "They're losing coordination. Their ships are scattering." Varnak, watching helplessly from the view screen of his flagship, could feel the weight of defeat pressing down on him. The once unstoppable fleet, the pinnacle of the galaxy's might, had been brought to its knees by the power of a single human warship. "Retreat," Varnak shouted, but his command came too late. The humans were relentless. The Eviscerator and the fleet of human ships closed in on the remaining alien ships, and the retreat was no longer an option. The humans had broken the back of the alien forces. Their once feared empire was crumbling, and there was nothing Varnak or the Council could do to stop it. Humanity had turned the tide of the war, and there was no going back. As Sarah stood at the helm of the Eviscerator, she couldn't help but feel a rush of triumph. This was more than a victory. It was a statement. Humanity was no longer the underdog in the galaxy. They were a force to be reckoned with. The alien empires that had ruled the galaxy for so long were on the brink of collapse, and humanity was at the forefront of that change. The battle was won, but Sarah knew this was only the beginning. The galaxy was changing, and humanity was about to claim its rightful place at the top. The Eviscerator's engines hummed as it powered through space, ready for whatever came next. The galaxy had been shaken to its core, and the ripple effects of humanity's victory would be felt for generations. And as Sarah looked out at the stars, she knew one thing for certain: the Council would never forget this day. The final battle had ended. The stars were silent, the battlefield still as the wreckage of the alien fleet floated in the vacuum of space. The Eviscerator, humanity's symbol of defiance and strength, hovered in the midst of the carnage. The victory was complete, but it was only just the beginning of a much larger shift in the galaxy. Inside the Eviscerator, Sarah and her crew watched the screens in awe. The once powerful alien fleet, who had believed themselves to be invincible, was reduced to scattered debris. Their ships had been crushed, their commanders defeated, and their once immense influence had all but evaporated. "We did it," one of Sarah's officers muttered, staring at the remains of the enemy fleet. His voice carried a sense of disbelief. "We actually did it." Sarah allowed herself a brief moment to relish in the victory. The fight was over, but the war was far from finished. With the alien forces in disarray, other factions, more sinister and more dangerous, would undoubtedly rise to challenge humanity's newfound dominance. But that was a challenge Sarah knew humanity would face head-on, just as they had done with the Council. "We've won the battle, but we've only just begun," Sarah said, her voice steady and resolute. "The galaxy will never be the same. We've shown them what we're capable of, but now it's time to show them what happens when you push humanity too far." The crew fell silent, understanding the weight of her words. This wasn't just about defeating an alien fleet. It was about setting a new course for the future, a future where humanity would no longer be seen as weak or insignificant. The Council's reign had crumbled, but there were others who would rise to take its place. Back on Earth, the victory was celebrated, but Sarah and her crew knew better than to grow complacent. The events of the past few weeks had changed everything. The Eviscerator was no longer just a warship. It was a symbol of humanity's power, and it would lead the charge in the battles yet to come. The war wasn't over, it was just beginning. But for now, the crew of the Eviscerator could rest. They had faced impossible odds, defeated the galaxy's most powerful empire, and emerged victorious. Humanity had been underestimated for far too long, and now the entire galaxy knew better. The Eviscerator was a testament to that truth. As Sarah stood on the bridge of the Eviscerator, looking out at the stars, she felt a surge of pride. They had proven to the galaxy that humanity was no longer a footnote in the history of the universe. They were a force to be reckoned with. The council had fallen. The alien generals who once ruled the galaxy with fear were now no more than a footnote in history. The galaxy would never be the same again, and humanity had proven that even the smallest among them could rise up and change the course of destiny. "Send the message," Sarah ordered, turning to her communications officer. "Let the galaxy know. Humanity is here to stay." And with that, the message was broadcast across the stars, loud and clear, so that every species in the galaxy would hear it. A new era had begun, and humanity was leading the way. The Eviscerator's engines roared to life, and the ship set its course for the unknown. There were new challenges to face, new enemies to defeat, but humanity had just proven that no one, no matter how powerful, could stand in their way. The tides had changed. The galaxy had been forever altered, and the humans would be the ones to shape its future.